Southern people, we like to say goodbye to each other in the restaurant and then go out to a hot parking lot and talk for another 30 minutes.
Yes.
I think Southerners are really aware of how they affect other people. So you're going to give that table up so someone else can use that table, some other waiter can make their money. You stand in the parking lot and talk. So I got here today. I was running late and I work out and I came from the gym and I had my change of clothes because this obviously isn't where we live. And I forgot my bra. And so I almost did this without a bra.
Oh, wow.
I had to send somebody to go get a bra.
Yeah.
So you're welcome. I saved you.
No, you know what? I didn't have makeup going out to a show last night. And I said, listen, if you're not going to take me to Walgreens, I'm not going to this show.
Exactly.
Like the bra, though, is absolutely, you cannot.
Well,
you can't go out without a bra. It's
it
too
was
much.
going to be a different show. So
Yeah.
I'm glad I got somebody to go get me a bra.
Yeah.
We had a real stress moment about the makeup because
You
we
did?
thought there was a makeup bag, and then we couldn't find it, and we had this whole plan to get here, and then we went to a Walgreens, and then the makeup was locked up, and we had to get them to open the.
Yeah. But we ended up getting it because I'm like, you can't go out in LA feeling like, and I don't live here
Yeah.
and I didn't even have foundation on my face. I was like, you got to get me something. So we did it. So,
You got it.
Yeah, we got it. And you got your bra.
Yeah, we got my bra on.
Okay.
So now we can begin, right?
Yeah.
We have makeup, we have bra.
Yeah. These are problems men don't have.
I know, right?
I mean, they just need their hat and their shoes sometimes.
Yeah, we just have to look like how we look.
Yeah.
Exactly. And shirt optional at my house.
Yeah.
You don't even need a shirt.
Right.
You just need a hat, maybe not even shoes.
Right.
Pants, Speedo a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Just that, the eggplant in a hammock of some kind.
As the career goes, there's less clothing being worn.
Doesn't need it. So I'm married to a comic, right? You are a comic, though, or improv or sketch comic?
I'm not anymore.
Okay.
I was in my adult years up until about 2019, and I got really burned out and I just kind of stopped. And then shortly after the pandemic hit, and then I had 2 kids, and then his career is taking off. So I'm no longer an active comic.
But
No.
you have done, you could fill in on some stuff that what your career was up until this point.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm from Canada originally, and I was an actress, and I mostly made my living as an actress. So I did like a kids TV show, comedy TV show. I did a prank show and commercials and stuff. And then I started to get into stand-up comedy. I did Second City and improv before that, and then I started to do stand-up. Met him in New York, and was sort of making my way down to LA, as a lot of Canadians try to like get out of Canada. And as I was about to move to LA, I met him and fell in love, and then went to Nashville, and then I worked the road as like a road comic for about 3 or 4 years. And then that ushered in what I like to call like kind of a breakdown. I got super exhausted, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I just didn't really know how to continue in Nashville as a stand-up. And so I just stopped. And
Because she was really booked up too. Her calendar was full, and it was like, so she was like going on the road, and then she wouldn't be able to sleep in the hotel, and then so would have a whole weekend of not being able to sleep, and then drive home.
Yeah.
And then all the gigs are not great out here on the road, especially coming up. It's a real grind where you're like, you're not like necessarily opening for someone. You're just getting a booking agency to go, yeah, you can do this spot. So you're just, it's like you drive 8 hours for, you do 2 nights, you make $250, and then you drive home, and it's like, it's not, glamorous comedy.
I know people don't realize that, right? Because by the time you have a Netflix special, your life's a little different than that, right? Bert had that same life, right? Where he'd make $500 a weekend, and then you pay your agent, manager, taxes, hotel, travel, and you make $50, for the whole weekend. But it's an opportunity to do a spot for several nights in a row. So that's kind of the payoff in the beginning. I completely know that life. Did you have kids when you were doing that life?
No.
No, it's before. Okay. I was going to say, how in the heck did you do that?
No, I never wanted to have kids. I always wanted to be famous. I was that girl that just wanted to be a little actress. And I did it. I made like a modest life for myself as an actress in Canada, and then was doing okay. But I mean, I really just hit a wall. And I will say a big part of the reason I ultimately decided to stop comedy and acting was I was just kind of miserable in my head. I think it takes certain types of people to endure not just the like day-to-day life and being on stage, but the psychology of it and the comparison to others and like the envy and the coveting of what other people have. And man, that would just eat me up. It really eat me up over the years, even though I was doing pretty good, like relatively. And I was just miserable. And I just thought, I don't know if I have to keep feeling like this. Like if this is my dream, but it's now a nightmare, I don't really want to do it anymore. You know, I gave myself permission to just stop. And so I did. And I feel okay with it even to this day. I mean, I've transitioned into the mom lifestyle, and then it's great to see my husband doing so great. And then, you know, I have a good life. So it's all good, you know?
I do know.
And when she moved down, she was, you know, on a work visa, but it was an entertainment work visa. So she could not get a regular job. It had to be an entertainment. So comedy fell in that category. So, and I was like, you know, like I said, I was making like $250 a week. Sometimes you're making, you know, $600, $800 a weekend. And you're like, this is a big weekend. But I was like, you have to keep doing this. It's like, I can support myself, but I can't really support you. But the moment that I was able to like be, you know, hit a place where I'm like, you know, now I can do it. Now I can support us both. Then it was like, yeah, you can just quit this. If you're done, be done.
Right. It's so brave, I think, to really, really take stock of your life like you just described and say, my dream is now my nightmare. I can let it go. I think so many people have a hard time with that moment in their life, right?
I think so.
I think so.
And we live in a world where it's like, don't give up. And I think like there's obviously a place for it. Don't give up. I mean, you're working hard. Don't give up. Life is hard. So you got to push through. But sometimes you do kind of have to give up. Like sometimes you do kind of read the room.
Up.
Like it's a different.
It's transitioning.
Yeah.
Right? You mature. I mean, hey, the music, I was just talking about this morning. I was super into hip hop until I was about 22. And then I got super into grunge and dark and Tori Amos and I'm suffering. And then I got into like classic 70s rock. So who you are kind of changes and evolves through time, right? And now I like all kinds of music, but I got really into that. So why can't we have permission to have that happen with a career? If the career is not fulfilling you, right? If hip hop was all I listened to and I was super fulfilled, then there's no issue. But at a certain point, I was like, I don't really want to listen to this anymore. I want to listen to something else. And that's a very simplistic way of saying, hey, my life was going down this road. And all of a sudden I was like, wow, it may not seem steeper and harder, but it seems steeper and harder. It may not actually be, but it's really getting harder. Why am I doing this?
Right.
Happiness should be the goal, right?
Yeah.
For whatever you do in life, it's just be happy and be fulfilled and feel supported by the people you care for. That's so brave.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I like to tell people I'm brave. Yeah.
No, it is really brave.
I think so. When I look back on it, it was one of the hardest couple years of my life for sure. Because there's a lot of just like, what was it all for? And what am I going to do now? And all those things. But time does its job a lot of times for me. So when I can look back on it now, like 5-6 years later, it's all good. But at the time, it was dark. It sucked. It sucked.
I like to remind her of this too. If ever she feels down about it's like she decided to quit and had to email bookers and say, I'm not going to do this gig. Right. It wasn't like I feel like when people quit comedy, a lot of times like there's no gigs and they go, I'm just not going to try to get any more.
Right.
She like actually had to go, hey, I'm done. So I like to go, it wasn't because the gigs weren't there. You were just done doing this.
Right. It wasn't good for you. It wasn't working for you. That's so cool. I think that's really cool. Bert and I have this debate a lot because he was like, you just never give up, never give up, never give up. But I had a friend a long time ago who was a comic and got to a certain place where he was like, the grind is killing me. And he could make a living, but he wasn't getting past that point. So he said to himself, do I want to put 5, 6, 2, however many more years into this to get myself to that next level? Or am I okay with doing something else? I had a teacher once in New York say to me, I was in acting school for a couple of years because I was lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And she said, if there's anything else you can think of to do, go do that. Like if anything else would make you happy, just go do that. Because the road in anything in the arts is so hard and so not guaranteed that if something else will make you happy, just do it. So my friend, the comic, he was like at the Boston Comedy Club. He toured the Northeast a lot. He was working, making a living, did the same thing. He was like, you know what? I like money. I like finance. So he became like a financial planner and then is so happy.
Yeah.
So then how do you say that was a mistake to give up?
Yeah.
As a comic, it's not. It's just a shift and
Yeah.
a transition, and he's happier. So,
Right. And he's probably surprised himself with the life that he's now living. You know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I had no idea I'd be here now and like
totally
with this person or having this experience.
Yeah.
You know?
Married with kids,
Yeah.
happiest guy you know.
Mm-hmm.
And also the funniest guy at the barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can look back and say, you know, for several years I was a stand-up comic.
Mm-hmm.
It is like, you know, I think a little bit for me it's the opposite, right? Like I was 30 really when I went full-time comedy. I was 32. So I'd already worked these jobs and I already been like, well, this is not making me happy.
Right.
And then I was working these gigs, you know, for this low amount of money. But I said to myself, if I could make a living doing this is so much better than, you know, selling pesticides that I would be happy with this.
How the heck did you get into selling pesticides?
Well,
That is a niche industry.
yeah, it is. Well, my brother-in-law used to do it. He's about 15 years older than me.
Okay.
He used to do it. So when I moved to Charleston and he was like, I can get you a job part-time here. It was a seasonal job. So I took it. And then I just kept working it for like 4 years. And then my boss retired and I got moved up into his job. So, yeah, I mean, I just worked my way right into the pesticide industry.
So random.
Yeah.
Did you go to college?
I didn't go to college.
No.
So it was like, and, you know, it turned into a salary position with health benefits. I was like, this is a great job for no college education.
Right.
So I'm like, you know, I found my thing.
So if you found your thing, then why did you leave it?
Well, things changed. You know, the company restructured and we lost half the business. We had fertilizer and pesticides. We lost fertilizer. And then I went from 10 stores to 30 stores.
Oh, God.
And then I got a boss that I hated who was really on me all the time. And I was like, this is not fun.
Right.
You know, I remember writing a joke one time. Some people asked me at a camp, this is a little gross, but they asked me, would I eat a piece of poop for $1 million, right? Obviously, they weren't offering this. It was just that question. And I said yes, you know, because I knew that making that $1 million meant I would never have a boss talk to me the way this guy talked to me. But then once I quit that job, and I still could have used $1 million.
Well, yeah.
I was like, I wouldn't do it now. Because I'm happy with my life.
Right.
You know, so I'm like, that's all I want to do. From now on, be in a place where I know I wouldn't eat a piece of poop for $1 million.
That's a good goal. Good goal, right? Good visual. No, I don't need to eat poop for $1 million.
Yeah.
That's really funny. What's the worst job you ever had?
I don't know. I think for me, I think, I don't know. I mean, so many jobs are like, my worst could be the pesticide job, but you could also argue that it was the best.
Right.
I sold timeshares for about 2 weeks.
Oh, Lord.
And it was, I don't even know if I lasted 2 weeks, to be honest. It was so bad. I felt like I was ripping somebody off I never made a sale, first off. And because I would talk to people and we would have a good conversation. Then when it came time to close the deal, I was like, I was almost like, you don't want to do this.
You don't want to do this.
You know, and so I called the guy. They had given us walkie-talkies. I was on the street and I called the guy and I go, hey, I'm going to quit this job. He goes, oh, I get it. No problem.
Yeah, it probably happens all the time.
He's like, oh, yeah, just go drop the walkie-talkie off. You're fine.
How funny.
He wasn't upset at all.
I would imagine you were not his first soldier.
I would say that's my worst. What about you?
Yep.
Yeah, I was trying to think in my head. I mean, I worked as a magician's assistant. And the job itself was like somewhat interesting because I got to see behind the scenes how the magic tricks worked. And so you're like, oh, that's cool that I'm in on it.
Yeah.
You know, so I would pretend I was part of the audience And then I would raise my hand to be the volunteer, and then I'd like help him fulfill the tricks and stuff. But in the end, he had actually changed his name in real life, and he was a registered sex offender.
Oh my God.
That I found out after the fact. And so that was like, uncomfortable and gross.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's probably the most like icky job I've ever had.
That's pretty gross.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty gross. I think mine was, I got paid $100 to be Snoopy in one of those full body like Snoopy things, like a mascot. And it was in July in Georgia.
Oh
no.
It was awful. I think that was my worst job.
Gosh.
And the Snoopy costume showed up smelling real bad.
Oh yeah.
So I had to put it in. Oh, it was awful.
So were you a teenager? Like you were just like
I was 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to make some
Just
little extra
trying to
money.
make some cash, man.
Oh man.
$100. I was like, I'll be Snoopy for 4 hours for $100. It's $25 an hour, like in 1990.
Yeah.
How long did you
That's a
last at
deal.
that job?
Well, it was a 1-day gig.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh,
I did
wow.
it for the 4 hours. It was like every 15 minutes you got a 5-minute break because it was so hot.
Yeah.
But it was reeky.
Yeah.
It was nasty.
Yeah, it is when you have a job like that. You just remind yourself, you're like $25 an hour. That's what Yeah, when I was selling, when I first started the pesticide job, we still had fertilizer, and I was the assistant. I was making $10.50 an hour, and I was pushing these giant pallets of fertilizer around a Lowe's store, and that's what I would say to myself. I would go $10.50 an hour,
Yep.
$10.50 an hour.
Yep.
And I mean, because that was big. I mean, up until that point, the most I'd made was like $7.80 an hour.
Right.
So
That was the same. I feel you.
yeah,
So trailer park,
yes,
same.
oh yeah,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
all right. In
5.
Georgia, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I grew up in like 5. My parents divorced when I was 7, and my dad kind of shuffled around a little
Okay.
bit within our community.
Yeah.
But yeah, 5. Well, not 5 trailer parks, but 5 trailers.
Wow. So you moved around the trailer park into different trailers.
Different trailer parks.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Both different trailers
Yeah.
and trailer parks.
Okay.
My dad's a mechanic, and he trades stuff a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So he'd get a trailer set up and looking real nice, and somebody offer, money for it. And he'd go, okay, and then sell it. So he'd get another one and fix it up, make it look real nice. And someone go, hey, how about
Oh,
I'll give you
yeah.
this much for this trailer? Okay. So then we just start over again, over and over again.
Well, it's not fun for the moving, but it's pretty like cool that your dad can do that sort of stuff.
He's a hustler.
Yeah.
In that way, in a good way.
Yeah.
He's not I'm going to cheat you out of money hustler, but he's
Yeah.
a hustler. He makes money he's always trading stuff. So just one trailer park?
Yeah, I mean, my parents got divorced when I was like 2 or 3. I'm not exactly sure. I said 2 for a long time, and then my dad told me it was 3. It doesn't matter. But we moved out. My mom had been married already, so I have 2 older sisters, and they were half sisters. And so when she divorced my dad, it was like she had 3 kids, and she was making pretty good money. She worked at a factory that made VHS tapes, and so she moved.
Was this Alabama?
Yes,
Did she work at Sony?
she worked at a place called Ampex.
Where in Alabama?
It's a town called Opelika, Alabama.
Oh, I know Opelika. Yeah.
Yeah, right, very close to Georgia.
Yeah. I've been to Opelika.
Okay.
Many times.
Oh, yeah?
So I know exactly that.
What would you do in Opelika?
I think if I remember correctly, so my dad's family adopted 2 boys, and one of the boys married someone from Opelika.
Oh, okay.
And I was really close to him. He's a lot older than me, but I was really close to him. And so we would go see, he got married there.
Okay.
And I think we would go see his family. I hope I'm remembering that right. So if someone in my family could email me, that was not Opelika, that was Montgomery. But
It's close to Georgia, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's close.
And Opelika is not far from Montgomery, but and Opelika is great. There's just nothing going on like, that I wanted, like at the time I hated Opelika. When I moved, I was like, I got to get out of this town. This town sucks. But now I go back and I'm like, I like it here, but it's still nothing. The airport's not close. There's nothing for me. But yeah, so we moved into a trailer. My mom bought a trailer, but in a trailer park. So I would say I was 14 when we moved. So, 12 years or so, we lived in this trailer, in the trailer park. People moved in and out all around us, but we stayed. And, I feel like my mom was a real kind of like, people would come and use our phone. People would come use our washer. I mean, my mom was a real stable person in the trailer park. And Yeah.
Trailer parks get a bad rap. I had a great experience in the trailer parks I lived in. Everybody was so communal.
Yeah.
Just like you're describing. It was not shady. It wasn't full of like prostitutes turning tricks like people think. It was full of people who just didn't make a lot of money.
Right.
So they bought these manufactured homes, as they're called now. And, they're actually now manufactured homes are actually really nice. They're super nice. But the one, if you lean hard on the wall, your hand would go through it.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And we were little.
It
was not sturdy.
Well, the floors will swell up.
Yes,
and then,
mine, yes.
And then you'll get holes in the floor and you can fall through. And my mom would, pull that up and replace all the floors.
Mm-hmm.
We moved out when I was 14, and then my sister moved in because all the floors were replaced. And then she traded the trailer into a company for another trailer, and I bought that trailer back for $1,000.
Wow.
And I moved in when I was 18, and my brother-in-law worked for a cabinet company, Craft Made Cabinets.
Mm-hmm.
And so he got the hookup on these cabinets. So we had like $2,000 cabinets in $1,000 trailer.
In $1,000 trailer.
Yeah. And, he got them for free because it was a messed up order.
Yeah.
So, so I had this cool, and my trailer park had gotten a little shady, but I like to say I was adding to the shadiness. It's probably, I was the main reason it was sketchy. I was just bringing in a lot of people. I had a suspended driver's license and,
Why'd you have a suspended driver's license?
Well, I joined the Army when I was 18, and then I got arrested for weed and alcohol before I got shipped off.
Oh.
So I never got shipped off.
Right.
My court date came after. So I lost my license for 9 months for weed and alcohol. The weed wasn't mine, and I wasn't even really drinking. I had an open beer.
Oh, gotcha.
I was just being cool or whatever,
How old were you?
I think I was 19 at the time.
Okay. So you were out of high school. When did you graduate?
18 or 19. I was out of high school. I graduated in 2000.
So did you decide right out of high school to go in the Army?
Not right. I spent the summer after high school partying, and then I was working. I was waiting tables at Western Sizzlin'.
I know Western Sizzlin'.
Yeah.
Been there lots. Not the one in Opelika, but
yeah,
the one in Carrollton.
Oh, okay. We might have been there. I know Carrollton.
Yeah, I'm from Bowden, which is right next to Carrollton.
Me and Hannah did comedy in Carrollton at a bar. Remember where all the dogs were in there?
At the Mansion?
Me and you and Evan and Vince.
Oh.
Was it the bar called the Mansion?
I don't think so.
No.
It was just a bar, and there were dogs just kind of hanging out in there.
Oh, I don't know. It's all a blur sometimes. The road is.
Yeah.
Right. That's so funny. Yeah,
That's
I'm from
hometown.
Bowden, which is about 15 minutes from Carrollton.
Okay.
So if I needed it as a kid, Carrollton is where the grocery store was.
Oh, yeah.
So you'd have to drive to the grocery store to Carrollton. So I was there quite a lot.
So is that a small town?
like 1,600 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
real small.
Yeah.
That's
And I took Hannah to a few Western Sizzlins.
Yeah.
Yep.
Get that buffet.
She likes to say that Southern people, we like to say goodbye to each other in the restaurant and then go out to a hot parking lot and talk for another 30 minutes.
Yes.
You are correct.
They do. It drives me insane because it's so hot in that.
Do you know why?
Tell me.
I'll tell you why. This is what I think. I think Southerners are really aware of how they affect other people. So if you sat at that table, you're denying somebody else that table.
Okay.
So you're going to give that table up so someone else can use that table. Some other waiter can make their money. You stand in the parking lot and talk. At least that's the way.
No, that's a fascinating way to look at it. I never would have thought about that.
Southerners, or my experience having not lived in the South for a long time, is a lot of those kind of things that are just built into the culture there doesn't exist out here anyway. But yeah, there's a real awareness of how you're taking up time that is not your time anymore.
Yeah.
Like eat and move on so someone else can eat and move on.
Yeah.
You don't just sit
I can
there.
see-
That's fascinating.
I think about that, but I guess I always thought of that as just like somebody that has waited tables before. But yeah, when I'm in a busy restaurant and people want to hang and talk, I'm really like, let's
go
move
somewhere
on
else.
Yeah.
here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's cultural. I really do think it is.
Yeah.
It's a cultural awareness of other people.
It's also got to be cultural to not be affected by that heat in that parking lot, though, too. Like they're not trying to leave. They're just hanging out. I'm like, sweating. I got to go sit down in the shade.
Yeah, no, half of them aren't even sweating.
I can't even talk. I can't think straight. It's so hot.
It's a different ball game for sure down there. That's the heat.
Yeah.
Wife the Party is sponsored by Omaha Steaks. With Father's Day right around the corner, what do you give the man who is everything? Easy. You give him an experience he'll never forget. You give him Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks is the world's best beef, naturally aged for the ultimate in tenderness, juiciness, and flavor. Omaha Steaks knows exactly what dads want. Steaks. This Father's Day, give him an experience he'll always remember. Mouth-watering steaks and a reason to think about you. Order now and send Dad unforgettable gift packages starting at just $89 with promo code WIFE. 5 generations of family-owned expertise means uncompromising quality you can trust. Every steak and every entree is flash frozen, vacuum sealed, and ready to prepare whenever Dad wants to grill. All backed by their unconditional 100% money-back guarantee. I love Omaha Steaks. I say this every time because it's true. I send my dad and my Uncle Steve Omaha Steaks all the time. They love the chocolate cream pie. My dad loves the cheesecake sampler. And not to mention all their steak. They have a sirloin burger that's really great. Bacon-wrapped filet mignon. Twice-baked potatoes. It's all you could ask for in a great, delicious meal. Make this Father's Day unforgettable with Omaha Steaks. Go to omahasteaks.com and order delicious gift packages starting at $89 with the code WIFE at checkout. Satisfaction guaranteed. Wife of the Party is sponsored by AquaTrue. I'm always looking for ways to make drinking more water easier, so I don't even have to think about it. I know drinking water is important to staying hydrated and healthy. In fact, 60% of our bodies are made of water. If you're like me, you probably don't trust your tap water. That's why you've got to check out AquaTrue. AquaTrue purifiers use a 4-stage reverse osmosis purification process, and their countertop purifiers work with no installation or plumbing. It removes 15 times more contaminants than other ordinary pitcher filters. It's the same technology used by all the major bottled water brands, but now it's available for your home and without the plastic waste. The filters are affordable and long-lasting. No changing filters every 2 or 3 months. AquaTrue filters last from 6 months to 2 years. Just one set of filters from their classic purifier makes the equivalent of 4,500 bottles of water. That's less than 3 cents a bottle. Plus, you'll save the environment from tons of plastic waste. Best of all, the water tastes fantastic. I love AquaTrue because literally there's no installation. Every time I walk by it, I think of filling up my water bottle, and the water tastes amazing. I swear it makes me drink more water throughout the day because it's so easy and accessible to have nice, clean, yummy, delicious water. AquaTrue comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee and even makes a great gift. Today, my listeners will receive 20% off any AquaTrue purifier. Just go to aquatrue.com, that's AQUATRU.com, and enter code WIFE at checkout. That's 20% off any AquaTrue water purifier when you go to aquatrue.com and use the code WIFE. You live in Nashville, don't you? So that's
Yes.
not, it's still south.
It's still south. I always say it's like the north of the South.
Yeah.
It's like we get a little Midwestern kind of weather. We get a little snow, but it's not Alabama heat.
Well,
But-
Georgia either same because
Yeah.
we're about at the same meridian.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yes.
hot. It's like swampy hot
Yeah.
in the
Oh,
summer,
yeah.
isn't it?
But I was waiting tables at Western Sizzling, and I was, getting high every day. And I was like, really, I had no idea what I was doing with my life. And so this guy came in and he started talking about the Army. He was just an old guy. He wasn't a recruiter, but he started talking about how much fun he had in the Army and how he traveled the world. So I left and I went to the recruiter's office and I joined the Army. And I was
Wow.
like, let's do this. And then my recruiters were like helping me, like, just get off weed and pass a drug test. But then when I came back from my physical, the guy was like, my recruiter goes, he said, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but I know you like to smoke weed. So he's like, if you want to do it tonight, because in 30 days, you're going to get shipped off and they're going to drug test you again. So if you're going to do it tonight.
Right.
And then that night I got arrested.
Oh, wow. You just weren't meant to go.
I don't think so.
Well, it was right before 9/11.
Yeah, I would have got shipped off in August of 2001. So I would have been in boot camp when
wow.
9/11 happened.
Wow.
So
somebody might have been looking out for you.
I think so.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. I think so too.
How about that?
Yeah, and you think about that sort of stuff and all the stuff that happens in life after that. I mean, I might not be sitting here. I might not be married to Hannah. I might not have the kids that we have.
Right, totally. I hear you. What's it like to be arrested? I've been arrested, so I know.
Oh, okay.
But I'm asking what it was like.
Well, I was pretty upset because I was like, I live. Oak Park is a pretty small town, so this cop that pulls me over. I got pulled over. I had 2 open beers. I didn't know what to do with them. So I just shoved them under the seat because I'm like, obviously they're going to spill, they're going to smell, but if I leave it here, they just see them.
Yeah.
So, they asked me had I been drinking and I said no. And then I was already out of the car and then he asked me to blow on his face, which I've made the joke about this, but, so I blew on his face and he goes, be honest with me. And I go, all right, I just decided to be honest. And I go, all right, I had a couple of sips, and so he arrests me for underage consumption, not DUI. I think he knew that if I did a breathalyzer, I would not
blow.
Yeah. So he just arrested me for underage consumption. And my friend stuffed his weed in his beer bottle before he put it under his seat.
Oh.
So when they found the beer, now the weed is mine because it's in my car.
Gotcha.
So when he put my friend in the car, he goes, oh, by the way, you're also under arrest for possession of marijuana. And another cop had pulled up and he was cousins of some of my friends. And I was pretty known at that time for having a lot of parties. So I think, he was like, yeah, this guy probably has something. And I did, of course.
And you did.
Yeah. So, and I said to the cop, I go, hey, I've joined the Army. If I get arrested, this is really going to mess me up. And he was like, this is going to mess you up or you're going to mess you up.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And it was like, in the end, I'm very thankful it all happened. But, I just got arrested and I lose my driver's license for 9 months and I go to a trailer and, do other things that probably could have ruined my life.
Right.
I was on a path to potentially succeeding in life and this cop thinking he's, I'm, a big shot. And I'm not anti-cop, but I'm also not so happy with them all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's like,
he was doing you a big favor.
Right. He thinks, oh, yeah, look at me.
Teaching you a lesson.
I'm getting a drug addict off the street or whatever. But it's like, I probably did more drugs because of you than I would have if you'd have just let me go to the Army. I just feel like there could have been a way, and I'm glad he didn't. But I feel like there could have been a way that he looks into this, says, has this guy joined the Army? And then call my parents to come get me,
Yeah. Oh, well, it happened the way it was supposed to happen,
yes,
didn't it?
Absolutely.
That's so crazy.
Why were you arrested?
DUI.
Okay.
I was 20. Yeah. But yeah, it's so funny how I'm always interested in how people react when they get arrested and how it what it makes them feel. I mean, some people are just like criminals and it's a different thing, but I wasn't a criminal. I just partied too much and was too reckless and got arrested for drunk driving. And I was a nasty, mean, spitting, fucking just shit talking the whole time he was arresting me and completely hammered. He had every right to arrest me.
Yeah.
I was driving drunk and I was 20. So, and I was like, you asshole. Nah, 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 nah. I just reacted so poorly.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway, yeah, it's a crazy thing to get arrested. It's weird to have your freedom taken away, even though I did not go to jail. I sat in jail for a few hours, but this just you have no control over anything. You don't have your driver's license. You don't have your car. You're put in the back of a car. I was handcuffed. It is a weird, awful feeling,
Did it mess up your life? Do you lose your license for a while?
I didn't lose my license. No,
Okay.
I kept on drinking.
Okay.
I kept going for a while.
Yeah.
I actually had, I think, a pretty hefty drinking problem for a long time. And then at, I guess about 23, I got into therapy because I started thinking, I'm not drinking, I'm not addicted to alcohol. I'm miserable. Like I'm drinking because I'm freaking miserable. So maybe if I figure out why I'm miserable, I don't need to drink. And that was actually true for me. So when I got into therapy, I was like, oh, this is why I'm miserable. I don't even really care about drinking. So I didn't drink for like 7 years just because I needed to get my head straight about the stuff that was making me unhappy. And then after that, I was like, well, yeah, I drink maybe like 2 days a month and I don't really get drunk. I just don't really care about it. It just changed what it meant to me. But in that time when I had the DUI, I was drinking 6 days a week a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm shocked it took me till 20 to get a DUI. I'd been drinking and driving since I could drive, like aggressively. So,
yeah.
And in the South, it's so different because you're on all these back roads. The worst thing that can happen to you usually is you have a wreck. You know, nobody's going to catch you because or if there's a roadblock or something where they're checking. But
well, I noticed when I moved down here, like it's such a car centric place, America in general, like, but especially, you know, in the South, Nashville, everyone's driving. And then before ride shares, I mean, taxis aren't reliable.
No.
So what? No one's going to drink? Yeah. No, people are going to drink and they're going to drive. And like, it's so normal. I hate to say that it's normal, but I know a lot, like everyone's having a couple drinks and driving out here if they're drinking. I mean, totally. That seems to be like just the vibe, and I'm not promoting it. Yeah. I'm not like, go ahead and do it, but it is pretty casual. Yeah. But it's in the same way, there are ride shares now, but 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there wasn't as many options. And you want people to do better, but they're still people and they're not gonna.
Well, you know? I was, after I stopped drinking, I would just volunteer every time to be the designated driver. Yeah. I'm like, I'll have one drink because that's really what I do is have one drink and then I'll drive and everybody else have a good time. And I have so much fun. I think like your pesticide job, when I was unhappy to the point where I didn't really know how to have fun without drinking. And then once I started getting happy, drinking actually sometimes gets in the way of having fun. I'd rather just have fun. And then, you know, and then sometimes, of course, you tie one on and that's fun. But if you're tying one on every day, it's not fun. It's actually miserable, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and that's what was happening to me too. Like I haven't drank in 12 years. But when I was selling pesticides, I think that was it. I was so miserable that I couldn't wait to get off work. Now, probably my drinking was adding to this misery, like you say, because I would wake up every day hungover and then go to work, and then I couldn't wait to get off work and drink again. Right. Because that's when I would feel better again. Yeah. And I would just go out and I would party and I would do comedy and I'm like, oh, this is great. You know, my job sucks. And
there's a lack of purpose, right?
Yes.
A lack of purpose is part of that problem. Is that when you found your purpose in comedy, and once you really like dig into that purpose, the rest of it doesn't mean so much, I think.
Yeah. No, and the way you are with drinking sounds exactly like me. Like when I was younger, I drank. I think I just binged a lot. Like I would maybe not drink for a little while and then I'd go hard for like a month or something. And I definitely felt, I guess, out of control with it. And when we met, we were both sober. And one of the things we bonded over was how we're not drinking. And it was exciting to meet like a young, cool guy that I thought was cute. Who also doesn't drink because, you know, that's hard to be young and single and you're like not doing that. So that was one of our main connectors. But I do drink now. And I mean, I just do it every once in a while.
Right.
And that's perfectly fine.
She has 2 drinks. She's a lot of fun. And, and then worries that she's an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that also a lot of fun or not a lot of fun?
No, it is fun. It is fun.
Well, I get, I'm like, oh, maybe that was too much or, you know, but it's not.
Good. You're like keeping yourself in check, so to speak. Right?
Yeah.
We have like opposite things going. Like I have a real problem. It feels like, and I haven't drank in 12 years, and I'll never try it again. But feels like I would get 1 or 2 beers in me, and then I'm like, I just feel so fueled by it.
Yep.
Whereas weed, I'm like 1 hit of weed, and I'm like, I'm good.
Right.
But Hannah is the complete opposite. Like she hasn't smoked weed in a long time, but
yeah, the weed's my devil.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Sadly, like I know that's like such like a I don't know, a weak vice, a weed.
No, it's not. Weed's awesome. I think weed is so much better for you than alcohol, right? Like healthy wise,
right? But what I'm saying is like it's medicine for many people, and on the scale of how bad certain drugs are, weed is like not considered that bad of a drug.
Yeah.
But for me, it just makes me like, I get like a weed voice and I get kind of like.
Our voice changes.
Yeah. It's like weird and creepy.
How funny.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I get high and he calls me, he can tell right away that I'm high. And I don't get high anymore. It's been years, but I used to love weed. Like weed was my jam.
That's so
funny.
Yeah.
I would have a stash that say would last me a month. And Hannah would get involved, that it'd be gone in like a day.
Yeah, I would crush it.
Wow.
Yeah. And the cigarettes with it, I love to smoke cigarettes. So it'd just be weed and cigarettes. And then I would just like not do anything. I would just be high. And it was just so pointless. But and then so it become unproductive. Whereas normally, like when I'm sober, I'm pretty like go and on top of stuff.
Yeah.
Me too.
Well,
look at your shorts.
They just sent this for the podcast.
Oh, are these the New Balance stuff?
Wait, can you tell her the story? My favorite Dusty story is one night we got high on a bus, and Dusty's like, I might have had too much. And he gets to the bunk, and the bunk curtains open, he gets back out, he goes, I had too much.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds like him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, we went through the border of Canada, and we're all sleeping, and they have to come on the bus and check us all, and yeah.
Yeah, because Dusty will just take one hit. And as he says, like, I'll let it ride. So he'll take one hit in the morning and I won't even know. And then he just rides that till 4, like a real responsible weed smoker. Whereas I'll I'll just have like all of the weed right away.
Yeah, and she turns into, she has like a real hippie kind of voice.
Yeah, it's like, hey guys. Like it's like creepy though. It's not
it is
like I can't smoke weed around my children. They'd be like, Mom?
Who's that?
Yeah, like they would be freaked out.
Before kids, like Hannah's I love Hannah's cigarette vibe. Hannah's a lot more chill with cigarettes.
Yeah.
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 Don't smoke anymore?
No, I quit in 2018.
But it should be a much more relaxed person.
Yeah.
I always encourage cigarettes.
Yeah, he encourages all of it. I mean, he wishes I would drink more. Maybe you don't encourage me to smoke weed, but yeah, he wishes I'd just like, go out on the porch and have a cigarette and just relax or something.
Yeah, not weed because you'll smoke all my weed. But,
yeah.
But cigarettes and beer, it's like, yeah, you're just, you're relaxed and you're cool.
Yeah.
When your kids are older, you'll do that.
Yeah.
Your kids are little, right?
Yeah, 3 and 1.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Where are they?
I don't know.
I don't know.
No.
Who has them?
Yeah,
We did,
my sister and niece came with us, so they're together.
Yeah,
with
they're at
them.
the beach.
Gotcha. Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, we had a kid. We had our daughter in 2021. We had
our kids late. I'm 39 now, so I had my kid at 36.
Babies.
That's not late. My second one I was 36.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when they get up and out, you'll be on the porch with cigarettes and beer a lot more often.
Looking forward to it.
Am I right?
Let me know.
All right, bye. Well, anyway, well, now I'm totally off track, Bert Kreischer.
I think we were just talking about Hannah and cigarettes.
Yeah.
Hannah and cigarettes.
I love a cigarette. That's probably my favorite vice.
What'd you smoke? What kind?
Cigarettes. Well, in Canada, I would smoke Belmonts. And then when I moved down here, I would do
Marlboro Lights, I think
Marlboros.
is what
Yeah,
you're doing,
Marlboros.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I like a cigarette because it doesn't get me messed up, but it gives you that breakaway. And then that feeling where you're just kind of like, yeah, screw it. Like that, I like that kind of tap out that a vice gives you.
Oh, I can't do cigarettes. I tried to smoke cigarettes and they hurt.
Yeah, they do. They suck. They smell.
They hurt me too. I do like cigarettes. I like nicotine. I used to, I've got this joke, but I used to, I feel like I would smoke until my lungs hurt and then I would dip while my lungs healed. And then,
I think I heard that joke.
Yeah. But I like cigars now. That's the thing for me. I really enjoy them. Like, I don't necessarily, I'm not trying to be cool with cigars, but a whole cigar feels good. You really feel the nicotine.
Right.
And I love it. And that's why when Hannah first started going on the road with me, she would smoke cigarettes. And so she would never say anything about cigars. So as long as she was smoking cigarettes, I had free reign with cigars.
Right. How'd you guys meet?
Well, we met
in New York City. So I was living in Toronto. I was an actress and I used to like to skip over to New York like once a year and just like hang out and do mics and stuff. And so I did that one summer and I met him at an open mic.
Okay.
I was living in Charleston, South Carolina, and I went up. I'd never really spent time in New York City, and I was considering moving there. So I I rented an apartment for just 1 month, just with a buddy. I just wanted to go and like really like try to get in the comedy scene. And I ended up meeting Hannah like, I don't know, a couple of days into it.
Yeah, and we really hit it off. And I was trying to make a move to America. And he kind of was like, I'm going to move to New York. And I'm like, are you? And he's like, yeah, do you want to come with me and move to New York with me? I'm like, okay, because I'm a little bit of a romantic. So I was like, yeah, like that's kind of fun. And he had that kind of like, I'll take care of you energy. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know, this American's going to move to this American city and he'll be new in town and we're both new comics and we'll both move together. And I said, okay, I'll meet you in New York. So I moved to New York. I moved in with his friend who he kind of hooked me up with in that apartment. And I was, waiting for him in Williamsburg. And then like about a week or 2 weeks into being in New York, he goes, actually, I'm going to move to Nashville.
What?
Yeah. So,
well, I didn't mean to give the impression that I was coming to take care of you, but I was.
Well, that was the vibe that I got.
I think I was, I was really into the idea of moving to New York.
Yeah.
I really, but I'm a religious guy, right? And I always kind of pray this in a way for a big decision. I'll kind of pray and I'll say, this is what I'm gonna do. But if this is not what I'm supposed to do, I'll pray that something stops me.
Yeah.
And I feel like that came. And I started talking to like a management type guy and another comic, Keith Alberstadt, that had lived in Nashville. And they presented this plan, sort of like what Keith had done, which was to work, you live in Nashville and you got all these cities all around you with comedy clubs. So you can learn to work the road and learn to be a comic. You can go full-time faster and then learn to be a comic while, doing comedy for a living.
Gotcha.
So that was like, I was like, that seems like the plan.
Yeah.
So I was trying to connect with Hannah. I mean, Hannah.
I thought I'd never see him again. I'm like, okay, you're moving to Nashville. Have fun.
Thanks a lot,
See
buddy.
you later. Yeah. Okay, see ya.
I mean, the moment I was not going to New York, she was like out.
Yeah.
But I was still trying to connect with her. I'm like, well, this is what I'm doing, but I still want to.
But you could see why I would think that's a rejection. Like I thought this guy was into me. We were going to move to New York. And he's like, I'm going to go to a completely different city that's completely foreign to me as well, especially. So I'm like, okay, so he's not interested.
But I was still trying to pursue. And then so that was probably 2014. So, and then for the next couple of years, I would try to communicate with her.
Yeah, I moved back to Toronto in the end because I had a show that I was working on. And then he would just hit me up. And I thought he was, as I like to say, like being a real American because he was sending me emails, but it was like to check out his comedy. It was to watch his YouTube videos. So I thought he was just being really like promotional.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this American. He's just trying to like flex or whatever and trying to get the clicks up and get the views and stuff.
But I was really just trying to remind her of who I was.
Yeah.
Like, hey, check this out.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm working.
Yeah. And then eventually he was like, hey, I'm doing some shows in Michigan. If I came up to Toronto, would you see me? And you kind of did it under the guise of, could you hook me up with some comedy shows while I'm in Toronto? And I was like, yeah, I can do that. You can come see me and I can help you get on some shows. And then, he came up and we've
I
been
talked her
together.
into leaving with me.
Yeah.
And she went to Michigan and did some.
Turns out I wasn't that mad.
Yeah.
You got over it real quick.
Yeah,
Well,
I did get over it.
I showed up too, and she had just opened for Rich Voss in Toronto. And she was like, the show was really great, but I guess she called him Rick Voss when she brought him up on stage. And so she got a write-up.
I was high.
Ruh-roh.
She got a write-up in the paper about how bad she had done or something.
no.
But she said it was a really good set. So she was bummed. So I showed up at the right time.
Yeah, I was ready to get out of there, just dip out. So.
Right.
So then I applied for an O1 visa, just sort of the starting process to immigrate, and I got that. Had to wait 6 months, so we did long distance. Couldn't leave Canada, and then I got it, and then we moved. I moved to Nashville with him, and we were together for about a year or so before we got married.
Okay.
Yeah.
She wasn't allowed to leave for a while, so I had a lot of gigs in Ohio. I was doing the Funny Bone. So I would do like the Toledo Funny Bone and then the Columbus Funny Bone. And so I would be able to go early and then we would go across to Windsor. She would come to Windsor and I would go over and we would hang out. We rented a hotel a few times. We rented like a cabin one time in Windsor. And it was fun, we'd go see movies and eat at I'd never, growing up, I didn't travel a lot. I mean, I was in Alabama, like we would go to Panama City Beach.
Yep.
Or we would go to Gatlinburg. I mean, that was pretty much our travel. So, the first time I went to Canada was to go visit her. And I'm like, to me, it's just fun. We're going to like chain restaurants, East Side Mario's, which in Canada, well, I was like, it's a new chain to me.
Right.
It's fun. We're doing these Canadian things, hitting up Tim Hortons, getting the 10 bits.
Yeah.
And
I remember you saying, wow, Canada has rednecks.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he was
everywhere
so
has rednecks.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Go to Vietnam. It's full of rednecks.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
everywhere. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's funny because, growing up, I really thought that everything below the Mason-Dixon line was that's where the rednecks were at.
No.
And then above was all cities and everyone was wealthy. And that's what I had in my mind for some reason.
Isn't that funny?
My brother-in-law is from Michigan. He went to the University of Michigan and his family worked for GM and they were pretty wealthy. So whenever they would come down, I just thought all these wealthy Michigan people. So I just thought everyone in Michigan was wealthy, and it's just a weird perception that I had.
Yep.
And then I go to Canada, and they're selling barbecue on the side of the road. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I recognize this.
Yeah.
I feel right at home.
Yeah.
That's funny. Wife of the Party is sponsored by DraftKings. We are this close to crowning an NBA champ. And with the action heating up on the court, it's even hotter at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. There's only so many games left, and DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered with same-game parlays, live betting, odd boosts, and so much more. Don't miss out, or you'll have to wait until next NBA season to place your bets. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple, like picking a team to win. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your squad, and place your first bet. It's that simple. New to DraftKings? Listen up. New customers can get a no-sweat bet up to $1,500. Just deposit at least $5 and you'll get a bonus bet back equal to your first bet if it doesn't hit. Boston Celtics are in the finals. Bert and I were watching old Larry Bird clips last night. Oh my God. He is so fast. I couldn't believe how fast he moved. He was like lightning, this guy. What an amazing player. It made me want to place a bet on the Celtics. So we went on to DraftKings Sportsbook, placed a bet for the Celtics. Can't wait to see how it turns out. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code LeeAnn. That's code LeeAnn for new customers to get a no-sweat bet up to $1,500 if your first bet doesn't hit. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Wife of the Party is sponsored by Lumi. Unlike certain other deodorants, Lumi is powered by mandelic acid to control odor in a new way. Lumi delivers outrageous 72-hour odor control everywhere, from your pits to your feet, and yes, even your privates. In fact, it was patients' concerns about private part odor that originally inspired the OBGYN who invented Lumi. Fast forward 6 years, and her game-changing whole-body deodorant has now earned over 300,000 five-star reviews from people like me who love feeling confident from head to toe. Lumi's whole-body deodorant is seriously safe to use anywhere on your body. Pits, underboobs, thigh folds, belly buttons, butt cracks, vulvas, and feet. Choose from a variety of fresh, bright scents like clean tangerine, lavender sage, my favorite, or toasted coconut. I love their body wipes. Their deodorant body wipes are the best because I work out 3 days a week. I keep them in my gym bag, and I just freshen up before I hit the road. It makes me feel amazing, and it lasts for like 72 hours. It's incredible. Lumi's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice, like a mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get 15% off all Lumi products with our exclusive code. And if you combine the 15% off with the already discounted starter pack, that equals over 40% off their starter pack. Use code WIFE15 for 15% off your first purchase at LumiDeodorant.com. That's WIFE15 at LumiDeodorant, LumiDeodorant.com.
And it's funny you say that about Vietnam because I always now I say, I think there's rednecks everywhere. I said, I bet in China somewhere right now is the equivalent of a redneck, and people are calling them that. They may not have that word. But
Right.
I just think that's happening everywhere.
Yes, it is. I went twice to Vietnam. My best friend is Chinese, but was born in Vietnam, and she does business in Vietnam. So I've been on 2 business trips with her. And the first time we were there, I was like, I think this culture is the redneck culture, like of Asia. Everything in Vietnam. Those people can strap more stuff on a moped than is humanly possible. I don't even know how they do it. And I go, well, that's someone in the trailer park would be doing that same thing, but just with a pickup truck, right? It's just a different mode of transportation. But you'd have a mattress, a cooler, a whole big thing on this truck. And I go to Vietnam and go, I recognize all of these people. They're just like the people I grew up with.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing. Food on the street,
Well, it's like in Opelika, when I was growing up, there was a lot of people from Laos. And my trailer park had, Laotian is what, I guess that they're from Laos, but the term, they're Laotian, I think is what it is. And, a lot of these kids were my age.
How about that?
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I don't know how much younger you are than me. I'm 54. I had never met or saw an Asian person until I was quite old.
Oh, wow.
Because of, rural Georgia. They were black or white, and that's it.
Yeah.
No other religion besides Methodist or Baptist.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. No Catholics. Nothing.
Well, it's very similar. That's basically how it was for me. But I'm 41, but it was like there was a small Asian population in Opelika. And now I think there's a pretty heavy Korean population. We have like a Kia plant is nearby to Opelika. And there is like a Korean Baptist church, something like that now. But yeah, these kids were like, they were my friends, but the one kid, Enoy was his name, and his family, they lived in a double wide at the end of the trailer park, and they had a big chain link fence about 6 foot with barbed wire around the top. And they had a garden, they had chickens, I remember they had like a dog, like a chow chow. You remember those? Like real mean dogs?
Yeah, mean as hell.
Yeah.
I got bit in the face by one.
Oh,
real
wow.
mean.
Wow.
You guys had a lot of similar experiences.
Yeah.
We did, it's so cool to me to meet and talk to somebody who grew up similarly to the way I did, because it's so rich in storytelling, because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Just sit around and listen to people tell stories. It's rich in humor, because again, there's nothing else to do. So at least the way I grew up, all these guys in my dad's life were always trying to one up each other with a joke. I got a new joke for you. It'd be the stupidest, corniest, or the dirtiest, or the most racist thing you've ever heard. And it would just make them all laugh. And even though today I'd probably be horrified at half the stuff they say, at the base of that was the want and the need to make somebody laugh, to make somebody have a good day,
Yeah, absolutely.
That way. Isn't that the truth? And it's not the same. It's not the same in California. I lived in New York for 4 years. It was not like that in New York. I haven't lived anywhere else, but that's a beautiful part of growing up in a small town. I know Opelika is a lot bigger than Bowden, but it's still kind of a small town.
Yeah, for sure. And the street joke, my dad, he lives outside of Opelika. He lives in a town called Lafayette. It's spelled Lafayette, but it's pronounced Lafayette. And it's where the downtown scene is, or the downtown area is where they filmed the downtown scenes of the movie Mississippi Burning.
Oh, okay.
So it's still like, it's a little updated now, but it pretty much looks like it would have looked in the 50s.
Right.
But yeah, it's so much like that. A lot of street jokes. Just everybody, it's all old men sitting around playing street jokes. I mean, very stereotypical old stuff. Like there's a country store that we used to go to, and then across the street was an old building where old men would be sitting out there on the porch playing dominoes. Just like, before the internet, it was like you really were like searching for ways to entertain yourself all the time.
And each other.
Yes.
Right? To entertain each other.
I mean, growing up, we'd be drinking, telling jokes.
Totally. Drag
playing
racing.
Cards. Yeah.
Yep.
Y'all have that expression, cutting up.
Cutting
Yeah,
up.
cutting up. Yeah, we're cutting up. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know why? Because you were a mess.
Yes.
You were a
Yeah.
mess.
Yeah.
I
I like
know
that one, too.
my pop would go to the coffee shop every day. He'd eat breakfast with my granny, and then go to the coffee shop and have a cup of coffee with all his friends almost every day.
My dad still does that.
He does?
Yeah.
It's so precious.
Yeah. He has a couple of different coffee shops that he goes to where he has friends that he used to sell insurance with way back in the day.
Yeah.
And they all meet up and they make the joke that, they're like, we're all old now. When we started out, there was about 12 of us. Now we're down to 6 because people keep dying. I mean, that's their joke. They love to.
It's hilarious. And they tell everyone. Mm-hmm.
It's a real special way to grow up. I'm so glad I grew up the way I grew up. And sometimes, we take our girls back to my little hometown every summer for 2 weeks because I wanted to make sure they had some consistent experience of that part of the world. Mm-hmm. I think the South and trailer parks, like I was saying before, get such a negative and a bad rap in some ways, but it was a beautiful culture to grow up in. I never felt like from the community, I never felt like not loved or that someone wouldn't help me. Like if I broke down on the side of the road, people would just stop and help you. I never felt in danger, like that some stranger was coming in to do me harm. I never really felt like that. Maybe it was just a naivete or an innocence. Maybe it's different now. I don't know. But there's something really simple about it. No noise. I'm shocked when I go back at how little you hear. And then also it's so loud because there's birds and bugs and frogs and stuff constantly. But no vehicles, no airplane overhead, nothing that you can hear. It's really,
an interesting thing about that with the birds and stuff. Like I got a buddy who has a drone and he'll fly it to film things.
Yeah.
And, I've seen him fly it in a bunch of different places. And he took it back to where my dad lives and he flew that drone and birds came and started to attack the drone. It was like those birds were so unused to anything like that they were like, what is this? I had never seen that anywhere else.
Crazy.
It was really wild.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's like,
when you were growing up in the trailer park, you always say like you didn't really start to feel some kind of way about it until you were getting to be an adolescent, and then you started to get a little uncomfortable with having to put that lot 8 on your address. Like the stigma didn't hit you until you got older.
Yeah, I never thought about being poor when I was a kid. And
because you don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's the same way for me. The trailer park was so fun. We had woods on either side of us. We would just spend the whole day in the woods, go down to the creek and play. And I had a ton of kids that I played with. A lot of them went on to be kind of stereotypical trailer park people, where they got into drugs and this and that. And there's a great song, a Don Williams song called Good Old Boys Like Me. I like to listen to that song and I think about myself. Because he talks about kind of at the end getting out and not everybody gets out and kind of ends up in a trap in a sense.
Yeah.
But it was so fun growing up. But then as I started to get older, I remember being very paranoid that we were still going to be in the trailer park by the time I got my driver's license and that other kids would want to see my driver's license and see that I lived in a trailer park. And I had such an issue with it. And we did move when I was 14, so I avoided that. But I remember having such an issue with it.
Yeah. It is stigmatized. It's a bummer because...
Did you live there as a teenager, like all through your young life?
Well, I lived in a trailer as a teenager, but I lived in trailers back and forth, but finally my dad bought a log cabin. So I was living in this log cabin, no heat. It was a log cabin. And then he decided it was just too far out from town because he worked so much before I could drive. So I moved back to my dad when I was 13. I lived with my mom till I was 13. And she had custody of me, and at 13 I could choose. And I chose to live with my dad. So when I moved back with him, he was in this log cabin, and it was on 20 acres. The driveway was half a mile long. There was no neighbor, like forever. And it was far away from our family. And in that, there's no way I could get to anybody, right? So at a certain point, he was like, I think we need to build a house because his parents had 88 acres on like a cattle farm. So he bought 8 acres from his parents to build a house there, which is across the street from my grandparents. So while we were building that house, he bought another trailer and put that trailer on that property while we built that house. So my dad and I built that house from the ground up when I was 13, the two of us. I didn't put the roof trusses on. I didn't run electric, but I did everything else. I still have calluses from all work I did from building that house. So
are you real handy? Because Dusty's mom's real handy.
I'm real
I wonder
handy.
if that comes with that culture too.
It does come with that culture because I don't, I talk about this a lot. I don't think my dad did not treat me like a girl and he didn't treat me like a boy. He just kind of treated me like a kid, right?
Yeah.
And you need to learn how to do what you need to learn how to do. So he taught me stuff on cars and he taught me stuff like all that stuff. I dug ditches. I split firewood. I jumped off rocks into creeks. I learned how to drive a tractor. I did all the stuff that just a person that lives on a farm or that lives in the woods in a log cabin would have to do. I just never really felt like I was pigeonholed by my dad into just being a girl.
Yeah.
Which was really cool and sometimes problematic because I don't really think about the world as a girl. Bert all the time says I'm kind of dead inside, and I think it's because of that. Because I'm just like, well, is it broken? Well, then how do you fix it? Then let's just do that. Why are we upset about it? Let's just move on.
But that's dope though, because like you are probably a very capable person. Like I always hear now, if something breaks around people's houses, they just go buy a new one. Like no one knows how to do anything.
I don't do that. I don't even do that if I don't even have time to fix it. Because if it can be fixed, I was just doing this with my washer dryer the other day. It was like, it's going to cost like $350 to fix your dryer. And I said, fix it. And he goes, you can buy a new dryer for $800. I said, yeah, but then I'm going to put this one in a landfill. And I can afford $350 to fix it. So to me, it makes sense for me to just fix it. Yeah. And then I'm not contributing to the problem of having more waste. And it just takes you a little bit of thinking, a little bit of time. And the less I say to this skilled tradesman, hey, fix it, the less the skilled tradesman is going to know how to fix it, right? Because I'm making him not have a job anymore.
Yeah.
Essentially is because I'm saying, no, don't fix it, just throw it out.
Yeah.
So all he's going to know how to do is install something. I'm not interested in that.
Well, that's really deep thinking on so many levels.
No, that is what I think like, though.
I mean, you're like, I'm thinking about the economy when I want to fix my washer and dryer too.
No, but it's more than that. You have responsibility for more than that. I think it's kind of the way my dad and his whole family thinks is that if you can reuse something, you should. Why would you? And for them, they couldn't really afford it. But it's the same mentality. If you can fix it, like Bert and I joke, we drive our cars until they fall apart. We inarguably could buy a new car whenever we wanted one. But the last car we had for 10 years. And because I don't believe in just going, I'm done with that. I'm done with that. I'm done with it when it's like run to death.
Yeah.
And that's just.
Well, that attitude is probably why the world is at where it's at. I mean, like green wise and carbon emissions is because, generally speaking, people are like, I'm done with that. We'll just chuck it out.
Toss it out.
Look at all the plastic. Look at all the cardboard. Look at all this useless stuff. It broke. Get a new one.
Yeah. How do you reuse it? I mean, I'm not a crazy person who reuses everything and has like one mason jar full of waste a day. I don't do that. But there are certain things that you could do, especially when you have the resources. Like if I didn't have the resources or if I were in a different place, I could, it would be different. We're lucky that we can say, fix the washer.
Yeah.
Right.
Just keep fixing it until it can't be fixed anymore,
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know how we got off on that tangent, but.
No, I'm with you though. I support that. Even just like composting and stuff like.
Oh, I compost.
All these boxes that I order Amazon, I order a lot of Amazon and, I get all these boxes. Or maybe not even Amazon, just anything. It comes in a box.
Yeah.
And then I just put that in the compost and it eventually just breaks down into nothing rather than going off to the landfill in a plastic bag where it will never break down.
Totally. You know what's cool about Amazon with boxes? They have a program now. I don't know what the program's called, but if you have clothing to donate, like to Goodwill, you can repack it in an Amazon box and they will pick it up for you and donate it.
Oh, that's what the world needs right now. That's
Isn't
amazing.
It?
Yeah.
That's game changer. Now you're reusing the box and now they're doing a public service, so to speak, by recycling these clothing.
Rather than that clothes sitting in the trunk for the next 6 months.
Exactly. And helping no one. There's so many
I keep forgetting to take it to Goodwill.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
What do you think is the most valuable thing that you apply or use today from the way you grew up?
Wow. I don't know. I mean, I think in general, being able to do a little bit of stuff, like my mom and dad are both very handy. So they were able to show me how to do things. Like I can, if the light fixture, I can change the ceiling fan. Now I'm not ready to wire a house, but I can do a little electrical work. I can do a little plumbing. I can, do this. I can do that. I repaired our porch, when it was all the wood was rotting out on it. I was able to put new wood down. Mm-hmm. I just think in general, I have some handiness that I'm able to do to where I don't have to have someone for everything.
Now, how do you think that affects your comedy?
Well, I think that, I'm able to appreciate this gift that I've been given of comedy. Because I've had to work and I've had to do things that I'm able to really appreciate that I get to do this for a living, mm-hmm. as opposed to other things that I've had to do in the past. Mm-hmm. And I think that, I don't know, building a set is a lot like building anything. You're like, I'm putting this together. I'm organizing this. If the joke is not where it needs to be, but I think it's funny, it's like it's just a matter of time before it will become funny. I got jokes I'm doing in my new hour right now that I attempted to tell 4 or 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it just wasn't working. Mm-hmm. And now it's a really solid bit, but it just, it took time to work on it. And I don't know, I just think building a general work ethic. Mm-hmm. Actually working with Bert years ago in Lexington, I had never worked with him. And he said, he said to me, if you're going to be doing this thing out here, working the road like you're doing, he said, you always got to be writing something new. Mm-hmm. He said, because these guys get out here on the road and they build their hour and they get this great hour and then they just start doing it all the time. Mm-hmm. And then by the time it's time to write a new joke, they've now stopped working the muscle to write that joke. So you're back to square one almost. You're writing jokes like an open micer, mm-hmm. because you've stopped writing jokes. Mm-hmm. And that I remember telling Hannah that, mm-hmm. and it impacted me in a way that I'm like, all right, that's true. I need to be working on something all the time. So I'm always working that muscle. Mm-hmm. And now I put out, I recorded this hour that I have on Netflix in May. And by the time it came out in January, I had a new hour.
That's amazing.
And I was ready to go.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. I watched your special last night. It's very funny.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm so happy to see people succeed. It's all you ever want in life is to see people succeed. And I think you're really lucky that you found a person that can walk this path with you.
Absolutely.
It's really special. Comics are so special. Mm-hmm. And I mean that in the most positive way. But there can be fragile little flowers. And I think they need that person that has their back, that believes in them, that is there for them, that listens to them, supports them. I don't know if you help him figure out sets or jokes or moments or not. I know I used to help Bert a little more than I do now. I don't help him much now. I don't think in that. But I think it's such a rich relationship a comic has with their significant other. It's really cool.
Well, it is no doubt so helpful that Hannah understands what this is that I do and understands the challenges of being on the road and just, having done comedy. She knows how hard it is sometimes to just keep getting up there and keep doing it. And she has helped me with jokes. We don't sit down and write jokes together all the time, but she has helped me with some of my best jokes.
Right.
And
yeah, and it's really cool to see him growing and doing better. And I mean, it's a blessing though. Like this is a good season for us. This is a really exciting time. And then we've got these 2 beautiful little kids that we get to share it with. And but it's also, you see the other side of it, the tiredness, the exhaustion, the stress, the go. And so, I try to just, keep the house like a sanctuary is the word we like to use, so that he can come home to something that's the same. Because if you're traveling all the time, it's just nonstop, And conversely for me, I mean, I did that for a long time, but now it's just nice to rest, to just have my feet in the ground somewhere for a long time.
Do you guys ever do anything, just the two of you, that's not related to work or kids?
We're not great at that right now.
Okay. I'll give you some advice. Do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
Bert and I used to, because we couldn't afford it, he used to book a date every year that was somewhere awesome. Like he did a corporate event once in Costa Rica, and we left the kids and went to Costa Rica. And we didn't tag a day or two on before or after, but we made a concerted effort to make it like a vacation for just the two of us. And I think he did that for a long time, years and years and years, when our kids were small like yours. And it was amazing just to make an effort to say, hey, you're performing. Maybe it doesn't have to be there. Maybe you're performing, I don't know, in San Francisco, and make it a trip that is for you guys, because we are now through the kids. I've been with Bert 23 years. He was a stand-up before I met him. So we've been through this trajectory of, $500 a weekend to what he is now. And we both look back on those moments where we made the time for each other in the insanity, even though he's also working. And I think it was really great. So don't leave yourselves out of this equation, just the two of you, because the two of you are really what makes the magic work, just the two of you.
I hear it. Did you hear that, Dusty?
Yeah.
You're going to take me to Costa Rica.
Yeah, I know. Costa Rica somewhere.
Where are you going? Where are you going next? That's fun.
It is
Miami or something?
Yeah.
Miami's great.
Yeah,
Miami
that's what I'm
great.
saying.
I used to go every time he did the improv. Well, not every time. A few times he did the improv. I was pregnant with Isla one time, and we left Georgia at home. I was like, we got to do it. There's nothing on the books.
Yeah.
And I'm about to have a new baby. So I'm going with you to Cocoa Beach. And it was a great time. We just got room service.
Yeah.
And just, walk to the club, and he'd do his set and then sleep late. And when you get home, even if it's a sanctuary, you're in a routine of all that you have to do with kids, and you're tired. So when you remove yourselves from home, from that sanctuary, and put yourself in this special place of like sharing this moment together, it's really awesome. I highly recommend it.
Listen, I'm for it.
Well,
I'm
into it too. And we did used to do more of that before we had kids.
When you were saying that, I was thinking of all the stuff we did before the kids.
And when, our son is like 10 months old. So we're really close to a place where he is going to be, like not being breastfed and being able to, like my sister who's with us on this trip can come up and just hang with the kids.
Totally.
And then we can go do some fun things. Because it is fun. I mean, we went to, I got to do a corporate gig in Charleston at Kiowa Island.
Oh, beautiful there.
Yeah, and they booked, we had this nice resort room. So we were there 2 or 3 nights, and it was amazing.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you're in this like lovely environment and then you're with your special person, you're just like, wow, my life's great and I get to spend it with this person. And it's just that kind of like moment in time that is just yours and it's special. And then you kind of go away and you come back to your life, but you're a little refreshed and you're also maybe happy to get home again and all that kind of stuff too. And this is the first time I've left the house since I had my boy 10 months ago. And even though we have the kids along with us, so it's still, tiring to a certain extent because you got these little ones, but it's fun. Like it's fun to go to LA and be in this city and all that it has to offer and the interesting people you talk to and going to little mixers and doing cool podcasts and stuff and just wearing makeup and different shoes that I don't wear a lot. It's like, it is exciting for me. And so like, this is my first baby step onto like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like just getting out to being a person again, not just like a mom with a baby. Yeah.
Totally.
And we do a podcast together. And
what's it called?
The We're Having a Good Time podcast.
Nice.
And we did it last night at the Comedy Store live. We had never done a live podcast.
Yeah.
And so it was fun.
And that was, was really fun too. Yeah. But I do feel rusty sometimes, like in these situations. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm mostly talking to kids. I used to be charming and extroverted, and then when you're around, especially people in LA who are like constantly doing that thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you can feel it, you can feel the difference. But it's good. It's good to get back in the game.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, we appreciate you having us here.
I'm so glad you came. It was great to talk to you guys. It's so nice to talk to someone else who is in a similar position, right? I was never a comic or anything like that, but I definitely, being married to a comic is a very specific wife or husband. It's a real specific role,
Heck yeah.
Comics are beautiful, amazing people, but they are very unique. And the road life in and of itself, and being the person that's at home supporting the person on the road, is also very unique. So I was super excited to meet you both and talk to you both. You're both so lovely.
Yes, well, thank you.
You're lovely. Well, thanks for coming by.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Nothing like being in this beautiful room to make me think about how dingy my show is.
Hey, you look just like everybody I grew up with. So it's no problem for me.
I love it. This is great. Thank you.